morning, folks. Colin Gray here from the podcast host. I just want to show you something that we do on pretty much a monthly basis around social media. So I don't like to say automation exactly because we don't automate our social media by any means. Well, actually, we do. we have two elements to our social media. We do some automation, as in we tweet out our content on a daily basis. So what I do is I tweet out 3 old bits of content, as you can see here. And I also tweet out a question as well every day. So that's all with the intention of trying to start a conversation, trying to start people asking us questions about the content we're tweeting out, going to the website, finding the content, reading it, asking us questions on the website or getting in touch that way, or with the question, people giving us answers to things we want answers to. So trying to spark that conversation on Twitter. So we automate the start of our social media. We put that out there through Hootsuite, and then we interact with people based on that. And we also do general interaction too, like replying to other people's tweets, retweeting people's content. So I wouldn't like to say we automate our content exactly, but we definitely use automation within our social media to make it sustainable, to make it possible, because otherwise this just wouldn't happen, to be frank. I just wouldn't have the time to do it. So I want to show you how I do it, because I do it in probably a slightly different way. I know a lot of people are using tools like MeetEdgar, like Buffer, to buffer their posts. MeetEdgar is great for taking all your old content and recycling it quite a lot. But I find them quite expensive, I find them quite restrictive in a lot of ways. And I like the fact that with Hootsuite, I create a spreadsheet of all of my old content. I update this every week. I have my virtual assistant actually updating this every week, and therefore it's always got an up-to-date version of everything we've published, from blog posts to podcast episodes, and it's always just there. So if I ever need to change platform, I've always got that content there. I don't need to rely on whatever platform that I'm currently using, whether they were to close down or to change their rates or whatever. So let me show you how this works, and it's relatively simple. So Hootsuite, when you're uploading using the bulk content uploader, bulk message upload, takes 3 columns. It needs a date with a time, it needs a message, and it needs a URL. And then you upload that file as a CSV. So what I do is I create a spreadsheet with those 3 columns to start with. So I've got the date posted, I've got the tweet text, and I've got the URL. But then I've got a few other columns as well to help me manage it. So I've got a reference for our posts, a reference for our blogs. It helps me tell the difference between podcast episodes and blog posts. I've got a length column as well, so that matters obviously for Twitter, so I can tell when I've gone over length on Twitter. So this is actually my LinkedIn post sheet, so I don't need to worry about these red ones, but this comes from Twitter. It gives me an idea of the length as well, and it tells me if I'm doing my Twitter posts that I'm over length with those ones. I've also got an added one just so I can keep track of that. And then I've got a random numbers one. I'll show you why I've got that just in a moment. Finally, I've got day of tweet. So this is where it starts for me. When I first come in here, I go, right, when do I want to start this section of automated tweets? And for this one, for LinkedIn, I'm going to schedule the next month. This is Facebook as well, so my LinkedIn and Facebook posts are the same. Twitter, I do differently. So Twitter, much shorter, much more snappy. My LinkedIn and Facebook ones, I make a little bit more longer, a little bit more conversational. So I do keep them separate. But I've got one for each day on LinkedIn. So I'll start with tomorrow. So today's the 28th, so I'm going to do 29th of June. 29th of June 2016. And I've got formulas that update that. So the first one I update, and then the next one's just adding one to that top formula. So this column on the left is what generates the time. It takes the date from the right hand side, and then it generates a random time between around 9 o'clock and 9 o'clock at night, so that 12-hour period. You can use that formula if you like as well. I'll post that in the show notes for this as well in case you want to copy and paste it. But that draws it from the right hand side. And the next thing I want to do is I want to save it off as a CSV. So this is the individual one for today's posting, because I'm going to alter this sheet a fair bit to make it work with Hootsuite. I need to get rid of the formulas so Hootsuite can read it. So I want to save it off as a CSV. Save that with today's date. Yes, I do. So that's it as a CSV now. You can check up the top, you've got the date CSV. So I'm not going to ruin my original sheet. And the next thing I want to do is turn this column into numbers. So at the moment this is formula. So as soon as I start playing with the sheet, delete these extra columns, this would turn into nothing. Well, it would just not be drawing that date to work with. So I want to copy this column and paste it again as values. And that turns it from formulas into numbers. So now it's pure numbers that I can work with. And that means now I can delete these extra columns because Hootsuite, as I said, only needs the date, the tweet, and a URL. It doesn't need all this extra stuff which I'm using. Now actually, sorry, before I do that, what I want to do is do my shuffle. So I've got random numbers here, generated between 1 and 100, and that is what lets me shuffle up my columns. So what I want to do is I want to put these tweets out, but I don't want to put them in the same order every time. I've also got much more content than I'd want to put out in a month. So I want to shuffle it to bring forward 30 from the 177 posts. So I've got 177 possible tweets. Well, in this case, it's Facebook posts, LinkedIn posts, 177 of them possible, and I want to put out 30 of them over the next month. That's part of how I keep it fresh, how I don't let automation sort of ruin our engagement, because I'm not repeating things. That means if there's that many to choose from, the same one's only going to go out once every maybe 6 or 7 months. And I use this random number column to do that. So I've selected all of those columns, everything about the tweets or the posts themselves, right down to the bottom, and I'm going to shuffle that by sorting by the random number. So the random number refreshes. Every time you make a change to Spreadsheet, that random number changes. So I'm going to sort by random number, smallest to largest, and that shuffles those columns right up. So now I've got a fully shuffled one. I've got a new set of 30 posts to put out over the next 30 days. Excellent. So now I want to get rid of these extra columns. And that leaves me with nothing but the 3 that Hootsuite needs. So the date, the text, and the URL. And then I want to get rid of all of these extra ones that I don't need just now. So there's lots down here. Obviously I'm just putting out 30 just now for this month. And I'm going to get rid of everything else. So that leaves me with just my month's worth of posts. So file save. So saved off as a CSV. Oh, last one, get rid of the header. Hootsuite doesn't like that header. Save it again. And now we can go back to Hootsuite. Now we can make sure I'm on the right date because we're in the UK, so we're using date month. Make sure you're the right profile. So Twitter's my default one, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to post this to Facebook and to LinkedIn. And then, so choose LinkedIn posts, that's the one there. All LinkedIn posts. Obviously it's Facebook as well, I just named it LinkedIn to start with. Hit submit and we'll see how it works. So quite often it comes up with errors just because maybe it's too long or dates are wrong format or something, but you can fix them quite easily using the error messages. Hootsuite's good at telling you what it thinks is wrong, but actually this time it worked fine. So I can go back, I can now click that schedule tab again, and I can check that it's been added to the queue. Let me refresh that and see. Perfect. So now I have Facebook, I've got LinkedIn, I've got Facebook posts, LinkedIn posts. So they're all going out to Facebook and LinkedIn, which is excellent. So that's automated now. That's going to start the conversation, which we then jump in on and give more value to. So I hope that gives you an idea of how I automate much of our social media process. And the spreadsheet I'm happy to share with anyone. If you think it'd be useful to you, do get in touch. Just go to the website, thepodcasthost.com, and you'll find a contact form top right. Or tweet me on Twitter at thepodcasthost, and I can send you over a copy. You can use that yourself. So I hope that was useful, and good luck with your social media automating.